I manipulated my son to quit his job because I wanted him to babysit my new husband's daughters for free, told him he wasn't responsible enough to work, and charged him rent when he refused. Now he's gone, my husband's furious, and I realize I lost the only child who ever helped me. I, 46F, married my husband Rick, 48M, 9 months ago. I have one son, Evan, 20 years old, from my first marriage. Rick has 2 daughters, Sophie, 10, and Macy, 7. The last few months have been a nightmare, and now Rick's angry, my son has moved out, and I'm honestly questioning whether I did something wrong or if I'm just being made the villain for trying to hold my family together. To be clear, I've always tried to be a good mom. I raised Evan on my own after his father and I divorced when he was 9. His dad was always the fun parent, the Disneyland type, while I was the one doing the work, homework, bills, school projects, discipline. Evan and I used to be close when he was younger. He was quiet but affectionate, the kind of kid who'd fix things around the house without being asked. But after he turned 18, he started keeping to himself, always out with friends or working at that mechanic shop he loves. When I met Rick, I honestly thought we were getting a fresh start. He's kind, dependable, and a great father to his girls. But blending our families has been harder than I expected. The girls adore Evan. They followed him everywhere when we first moved in together. He tolerated them, but never seemed enthusiastic about bonding. I kept telling him that if he wanted to stay in our home rent-free, he needed to make an effort to be part of the family. He'd roll his eyes and say, "Mom, I'm not their babysitter," and that always rubbed me the wrong way. I get that he's an adult now, but living under my roof means participating in the household. He wasn't paying rent, he barely ate with us, and he always acted like a guest in his own home. Rick even pointed out how awkward it was that Evan skipped family dinners to eat in his room, or left the table early to get some rest. I wanted him to help out more, to at least acknowledge that the girls looked up to him. Then summer started, and everything blew up. The girls' babysitter quit unexpectedly. She got a better job offer, and we couldn't match her rate. Rick and I both work. I do part-time admin at a dentist's office and he manages a warehouse. Full-time childcare was going to cost nearly as much as our mortgage. I panicked. We had no one to watch the girls during the day and I didn't want them home alone. That's when I suggested Evan could help. He was still living here and I thought it would be good for him. Build responsibility, show he cared about the family. He'd always been good with the girls. They absolutely lit up when he was around. When I mentioned it, he immediately said no. He said he couldn't babysit full-time because he worked at the shop from 8 to 5 and that quitting wasn't an option. I'll admit, I was frustrated. I told him family comes before work and that helping for a few months wouldn't ruin his life. He said, "Mom, this isn't my problem." And that hit a nerve. I reminded him that I had supported him for 20 years, paid for community college, covered food and rent, and that now it was his turn to step up. Rick agreed and said it would show maturity for Evan to help. Evan didn't take it well. He accused us of trying to control him and said, "You just want a free babysitter." I said that was unfair. I wasn't asking him to give up his future, just help temporarily until school started again. He finally gave in after a huge fight. He quit his job and agreed to stay home with the girls, just for the summer. At first, everything seemed fine. He cooked for them, helped them with activities, and even took them to the park. I noticed he seemed tired a lot, but I figured that was because taking care of kids is hard work. Still, he started to get snappy. If I asked him to tidy the kitchen or fold laundry, he'd say he wasn't my housekeeper. It irritated me because I was juggling work, groceries, bills, and trying to keep everyone happy. When I offered him gas money as a thank you, he refused it, saying, "I'm not doing this for pay. I'm doing this because I don't have a choice." That comment really hurt. Rick told me to ignore it. Said Evan needed a wake-up call about how hard life is. Then around August, Evan got a call from his old boss at the mechanic shop. They needed an extra hand and offered him his position back. He told me he planned to start again the next week. I said that wasn't realistic. The girls weren't back in school yet, and we hadn't found a new sitter. He said that wasn't his problem. I reminded him that I had asked him to commit for the summer, and summer wasn't technically over yet. He lost his temper. He said I'd manipulated him into quitting and that I only cared about what was convenient for me. Rick stepped in and said Evan was being disrespectful. Things escalated fast. I told Evan that if he wasn't going to help, then he'd have to start paying rent like an adult. I figured $400 was fair considering we cover utilities, food, and everything else. Evan didn't argue. He went silent, packed up most of his things, and moved out 3 days later without saying a word. He left a short note on the kitchen counter that said, "You didn't want a son, you wanted a free nanny. Good luck finding another one." I was stunned. He blocked my number and hasn't returned a single text since. Now the girls are miserable. Sophie keeps crying that she misses Evan. Macy won't listen to anything I say. She tells me I'm mean for making him leave. Rick has been cold and short-tempered with me, saying I should have handled things differently. He blames me for pushing Evan away, even though he backed me up at the time. I feel trapped. I wasn't trying to ruin my relationship with my son. I was trying to teach him responsibility. It's not like I asked him to give up his whole life. It was a few months. I worked full-time and raised him alone for years. I don't think it's too much to ask that he help out when the family needed him. I know how this sounds written out, but it didn't feel like manipulation when I did it. It felt like parenting. I was trying to set expectations. Evan's always had a stubborn streak. He gets that from his dad. And I'll admit I've been guilty of enabling him in the past. Maybe this was me trying to balance that out, to finally hold him accountable. But now Rick's furious. He says Evan leaving broke the family dynamic, and that the girls don't even want to stay in our house anymore. He's barely speaking to me. I feel like everything's slipping through my fingers, and all I did was ask for some help. So, Reddit, am I really that wrong for expecting my grown son to contribute to our home instead of running away the minute things got hard? I'm not perfect, but I don't think I deserve to be treated like a monster for trying to make my family work. Update 1. I didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I thought I'd get some perspective, not several thousand people calling me manipulative, abusive, controlling, and a terrible mother. I've been reading the comments for days now, and I won't lie, some of them hurt. I know I made mistakes, but people are acting like I kicked Evan out for fun. Like I just woke up one day and decided to ruin my own relationship with my son. That's not what happened. I'm not a monster. I did what I thought was best for the family. Still, I'll admit things have gotten worse since I last posted. Evan still won't speak to me. He hasn't responded to a single call or text. The only reason I know where he is came from my sister, who told me he's living with my ex-husband, his biological father. Apparently he's back at the mechanic shop full-time and doing really well. I found that out the same day my ex called me, absolutely furious. He accused me of forcing Evan into unpaid labor and robbing him of his independence. His words, not mine. He said Evan told him everything about how I made him quit, how I guilt-tripped him with money and rent, how I told him he wasn't responsible enough to work. He didn't even let me explain. He called me selfish and threatened to take legal action to prevent me from touching any of Evan's college savings, which I've been managing since he turned 18. For context, the savings account was supposed to be used for school expenses or something that would help him build a future. I've always been transparent about that. The truth is, I did plan to use a small portion of it to help with some household costs. Groceries, utilities, things we all use, since Evan still lived here and wasn't contributing financially. I didn't think it was a big deal, but my ex said if I so much as withdrew a cent, he'd take me to court. So now I'm frozen out of that account entirely. Rick wasn't exactly thrilled when he found out either. He said he didn't sign up to deal with financial drama from another marriage. That stung, because we've always shared expenses equally, or tried to. Lately though, I've noticed a shift. Rick used to back me up completely, especially when it came to parenting decisions. Now he looks at me like I'm some kind of problem he has to manage. He's been sleeping in the guest room for the past week, saying he needs space. He insists he's not leaving, but the tension is unbearable. Every conversation turns into an argument about Evan. He keeps saying things like, "You didn't have to push him that hard," and "You made it sound like a punishment for wanting to grow up." I tell him that's easy for him to say. Evan isn't his child. Rick's never had to be the bad guy. It's not just Rick either. The girls are miserable. Sophie flat out told me she hates this house now. She said, "Evan always played games with us and made dinner fun, and now you and Dad only yell." Macy cries at bedtime almost every night and asks why Evan won't come tuck her in. I've tried explaining that he needed space, but they're too young to understand. They just think he left because of them. I caught Sophie sneaking into the living room late at night last week, whispering on her tablet. When I took it from her, I realized she was video calling Evan. They were talking quietly. She was showing him the blanket fort they'd built earlier that day. Evan looked happy, which made me angry and guilty at the same time. I ended the call and told the girls they weren't allowed to contact him until things settled down. I said it was confusing them and making things worse. They both started crying and saying, "You're mean. We love Evan." The next morning, Rick completely lost it. He said I had no right to cut off the girls' contact with Evan. He said I was alienating everyone who loves me, that I turned Evan into the villain. because I couldn't handle losing control. I told him he had no idea what it's like being a single mother for almost 20 years, constantly having to hold everything together. He said that's exactly the problem, that I still treat everyone, including him, like they're part of some system I need to manage. That one hurt. He said, "You don't want partners, you want subordinates." Evan wasn't lazy or disrespectful. He was trying to grow up. He was the only one holding this house together. Then he packed a bag and stayed at his brother's for 2 nights. He's back now, but he's cold. I can feel it. I've tried reaching out to Evan again, just to apologize. I didn't even ask him to come home. I only said I wanted to talk. I told him I missed him, that the girls missed him, that I wanted to fix things. He finally replied. All he said was, "You don't get to treat me like property, and then apologize when it's inconvenient." That message shattered me. I stared at it for hours. I tried replying. I said I never meant to treat him like property, that I only wanted him to understand what family means. He didn't answer. The next day my messages stopped delivering. He blocked me again. I know people will say I deserve it. Maybe I do, but I still don't think I was wrong to expect some help. When he was a kid, I worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. I didn't have anyone to fall back on. I was terrified of losing my job, terrified of bills piling up. I did everything alone. So when I asked him to step up for a few months, I wasn't trying to control him. I thought I was teaching him that family supports each other. Rick says I don't realize how controlling I sound, but that's not fair. If I were controlling, Evan wouldn't have been allowed to move out. I didn't stop him. I didn't chase him down. I just set expectations for what it means to live here. If he wanted freedom, he could earn it. I still believe that, but it doesn't matter anymore, because the damage is done. The house feels hollow. The girls barely talk at dinner. Rick sits there scrolling his phone, and I sit across from him pretending it's normal. Yesterday, Sophie told me she wanted to live with her dad full-time because you make everyone sad. That crushed me. I didn't even yell at her. I just went to my room and cried. Everyone keeps saying I need to take accountability, but what does that even mean? Am I supposed to admit I'm the worst person alive because I wanted my son to help his family? Because I didn't want to spend hundreds on daycare when he was perfectly capable of helping? I keep replaying it in my head, and I still think any reasonable parent would have done what I did. I wanted to raise someone dependable. Instead, I raised someone who thinks independence means cutting his mother out of his life completely. Now Rick barely looks at me, the girls blame me, and Evans made me out to be some villain in his story. I tried to do what was best for everyone, but apparently that makes me a monster. I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I'm starting to wonder if trying to build this blended family was a mistake from the start. Final update. It's been about half a year since my last update, and I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe because there's no one else to talk to anymore. Everyone has moved on, except me. Rick left 2 months ago. He took the girls to live closer to his ex-wife. He said they needed stability and that being around me was making things worse. His exact words were, "You ruined the only peace this house had." That line has been running laps in my head ever since. We're not legally divorced, not yet. He said he needs space to think, but we both know what that means. He doesn't answer when I call. He sends short, polite texts about bills or paperwork, but nothing personal. The last time we saw each other, he came to pick up the girls' clothes and told me he didn't plan to bring them back here while I'm still living in this house. So now I'm in an empty house, just me and too much quiet. I never realized how loud peace can sound when it's all you have left. Evan hasn't spoken to me since the message he sent months ago, the one that said, "You don't get to treat me like property and then apologize when it's inconvenient." I haven't heard a word since. I tried emailing him, sending birthday cards, even a small gift card for gas when I heard he bought his own car. Nothing. He's blocked me on everything. About a month ago, I ran into him at the grocery store. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, stronger, calmer. He was standing in line, talking to one of his coworkers, laughing at something. I froze. When he noticed me, his smile just disappeared. I walked up to him, and the only thing I could think to say was, "You look good, sweetheart." He didn't even look at me. He said quietly but clear enough for everyone around to hear, "You only want me when I'm useful," and walked away. I stood there staring at his back, holding the same basket I had when I walked in. I don't remember if I paid for anything. I don't know what I expected. Maybe for him to at least listen. Maybe for him to see that I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just trying to keep everyone together. But it doesn't matter. He's gone. After Rick left, I started noticing all the small things Evan used to do that no one else ever did. The bills that never used to pile up because he'd remind me about due dates. The leaky faucet he fixed without asking. The way he'd make sure the trash was out before the truck came. Even the little things, changing light bulbs, checking the locks at night, shoveling the driveway before I woke up. I used to nag him for not doing enough. Now the house feels like it's falling apart around me. The girls stopped asking about me too. Rick sent one short video on Christmas of them opening presents. They looked happy. Sophie said, "I miss Evan," and Rick laughed. I waited for her to say she missed me too, but she didn't, and Macy didn't even look at the camera. I guess that's fair. I told them they couldn't talk to him, then lost my temper when they did anyway. I thought I was protecting them from mixed signals, but I see now that all I did was punish them for loving him. My mom came over last week. The first time since Rick left. She sat in my kitchen, looked around the quiet house and said, "You treated your son like a servant. Now you're alone?" I snapped at her, told her she didn't understand, that I was desperate and tired. She said, "We're all tired. We don't all destroy the people who help us." Then she left. She's right, but hearing it from her still burned. I started therapy 2 months ago. The first session, I told the therapist everything from the start, how I asked Evan to help, how he refused, how I made him quit, how it all spiraled. I expected sympathy. What I got was a mirror. She said something that stuck with me. "You confuse control with care." At first I argued. I said I only wanted him to learn responsibility, that I worked hard to raise him right, and that I didn't want him to turn into one of those aimless kids who never leave home. She asked me if I ever asked Evan what he wanted. I didn't answer because I knew the truth. I never did. I assumed I knew better because I was his mother. She asked, "What did you feel when he started talking about moving out?" Without thinking, I said, "Scared. Left behind." It was like the words slipped out before my brain caught up. And that's when I realized how deep it went. Watching him plan his own life made me feel like I wasn't needed anymore. And that terrified me. So I did what I've always done. I tried to make myself necessary. I told myself it was love, that keeping him close was about family. But really, it was about control, about not wanting to be replaced. When Rick came into my life, I saw a second chance, a new family, a new home, a new beginning. But when Evan started pulling away, I panicked. I saw him as someone leaving me again, like his father did. Instead of letting him go on his own terms, I tried to anchor him here by any means. And I used the girls, innocent kids, as my excuse. That's the hardest part to admit. I'm still not a doormat. I won't pretend that everything I did came from malice. I was doing what I thought a mother should do. Hold her family together, keep everyone fed, safe, and connected. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that connection isn't the same as control. Rick once told me, "You manage people instead of loving them." I laughed at the time, but I see what he meant now. Love isn't management, it's trust. And I didn't trust anyone. Not my son, not my husband, not even myself. Now I'm paying for it. The therapist asked me last week what I'd say to Evan if he gave me 5 minutes to speak. I said I'd tell him I'm sorry for treating his independence like rebellion, that I was proud of him even when I acted like I wasn't, that he wasn't irresponsible. He was growing up, and I mistook that for rejection. She told me to write it down even if I never send it. I did. It's sitting in an envelope on my nightstand with his name on it. I don't know if I'll ever mail it. Life is quieter now. The house feels bigger than it used to. I still catch myself listening for the girls' laughter or Evan's car in the driveway. Sometimes I hear it in my head, the sound of him coming home from work, dropping his keys on the counter, asking what's for dinner. Then I remember that he's not coming back. Rick's last message to me said, "You need to fix yourself before you destroy anyone else." I think he's right. That's what therapy is for. I'm trying. Slowly. I've stopped defending what I did. There's no point anymore. Everyone I love already paid the price for my good intentions. I wanted a family again. I wanted noise, connection, people depending on me. And I got it. For a while. Then I crushed it under the weight of my own fear. Now it's just me. No husband, no kids, no one asking for help. I thought peace would feel good. It doesn't. It feels like punishment. But maybe that's what I need. Rick doesn't answer my messages. The girls stopped asking for me. Evan hasn't unblocked my number. I wanted to rebuild my life. Instead, I built walls around it and made sure no one could stay inside.